Thank you for watching Policy and Prejudice. My name is Chris Stevenson. This is not a good week as far as losing icons are concerned. We started out losing two. Steve Jobs, of course, for Apple Computer. Also Fred Shuttlesworth, co-founder of the SCLC, best known to be a close comrade of Dr. Martin Luther King. Also, this morning, we were hit with the third, because they always go in threes, a third figure, a third icon, but this time in the world of sports, had passed away. That's Al Davis, the late, great owner of the Oakland Raiders. Davis began his career in pro football during the 1960s. He had done several stints as an assistant coach in college and pro football. Then he was granted the dual positions of coach and general manager of the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders. He quickly changed their uniform colors as well as their personality. Along with that came the more common usage of the bomb, as well as the head slap that his offensive linemen began using. And he created a very physical, intimidating style of football. John Madden, his former coach, called it 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Usually, Davis' strategy would be to run the ball up the heart of the defense, run it up their guts, using his fast halfbacks or his powerful fullbacks to wear down the defensive line, after which he would just throw a long bomb from one of his strong-arm quarterbacks. It may have been Buffalo's own Daryl Monica, the Mad Bomber. It may have been Kenny Stabler, people like this. The defense was usually too wore out to even go after these receivers, these fast receivers that he would use, whether it be at Warren Wells or Cliff Branch or Tim Brown. You know, Davis was a very, very complex individual. If Davis was on your side, if he liked you, he'd give you the world, even after you finished playing for him. If he didn't, and there was no guaranteed, things would always be the same. If he turned on you, like he did Marcus Allen, like he did Kenny Stabler before then, and several other people, he became your worst enemy. The Raiders, for the longest time, were the winningest team in professional sports, up until probably the early 90s, I think, early to mid-90s. During that time, they dominated. They were usually always in the playoffs, and they had been to at least 5 Super Bowls up to this time, winning 3 of them. I think the best summary I've ever read, the best story I've read about Davis was one, I forgot who wrote it, it was Inside Sports Magazine in the early 80s, around 1980, 81. And Davis he even talked about death and how he was able to control most things, but he could not control death. Well, nobody on this planet has learned to do that. You know, but, you know, he had what is known as an alpha A-type personality. You know, and that's what it was. You know, he pushed his concept into his chosen profession and became the best at it for quite a while. You know, a lot of great players went through the Raiders. A lot of them, and I know you're going to be hearing quite a bit about this on the sports channels in the coming weeks, but he will not be forgotten. I think it's also very conspicuous that this death occurs at a time when Davis had just hired another black coach, the coach's team. Hugh, I think it's Hughes. You know, don't get me to lie. Not too familiar with this guy, but so far he's doing a pretty good job. You know, they say that his philosophy pretty much resembles that of Davis, and Davis is very high on him. He might be giving a major control of the team by Davis posthumously. You never know. But I applaud all 3 of these men, Al Davis, Steve Jobs, as well as, of course, Reverend Shuttlesworth. Shuttlesworth had been, you know, he was up there in age, but he had been serving in Cincinnati under a pastoralship. And since he accomplished his work with the SCLC, helping to break so many racial barriers back in the 60s and 70s, a job well done, a great job. There's nobody that you can really point to, as far as almost being faultless and flawless as Reverend Shuttlesworth. Steve Jobs, yes, Jobs has his issues. Jobs did a great thing. Jobs was innovative just like the other two. But Jobs had the issue with the slave labor, had the issue with underpaying his people, had issue with the outsourcing. I don't care what any of you say out there, outsourcing is un-American. Okay, you want to start talking about un-American and calling everything you want to call in your heart to be un-American. Outsourcing is the most obvious un-American thing today, and it is taken to task the least. But when a company all of a sudden decides it wants to take operations overseas and still call itself an American company, we got problems. Because I can see right through your greedy ass. These companies can still be American. These things can still be worked out. You might have to pay a little bit more, but you are still going to be Mr. Billionaire. So I don't know what the problem is. But what it is a lot of these people, a lot of these companies are run by people who they got to have people that they think are slaves under them in order for them to feel good about themselves. I take it. I don't know. It's weird stuff. But it's un-American to do that. But back to the situation regarding Al Davis. He's going to be missed. Even though his last several years in the league were not the best, a lot of that was caused by his own decision making. But I think with younger people now, the Raiders organization can continue on, can move on, and hopefully improve, continue to move up. Davis had been looking rather, sickly over the last couple of years anyway. So, and I guess in the back of a lot of people's minds, he was due to go pretty soon. It's too bad. He did not improve with age for the most part. His last notable act in sports was to have some input in the lockout. As a matter of fact, that just took place. The NFL lockout that just ended shortly before the season started. And as Davis generally does, he ruled in favor of the players because he was always a player's man anyway. Okay, so, I say here's to Mr. Davis, as well as Mr. Shuttlesworth and Mr. Jobs. A job well done to all three of you. Thank you for watching Policy and Prejudice. My name is Chris Stevenson. Have a safe week for clbTV. I'm out.